But here's the key. Here's what nobody seems to understand, and maybe the most important thing you'll learn on this program today. Once the brain is activated, once it's broken out of alpha sleep and into beta alert mode, it wants to be engaged, so it immediately and subconsciously searches for additional clarifying information. The brain wants to know, what's this all about? How does it affect me? Do I need to do anything about this? On a subconscious level, the brain goes on a fact-finding mission. The bottom line is this. The brain wants to know this. How is this relevant and important to me? Should I allocate any conscious bandwidth to this? So it searches for additional facts. If it finds them, it will become engaged. If not, it will quickly revert into, that's right, alpha mode. We call these important and relevant issues hot buttons. If you're in a room with a TV on it and you're a golf fan and your reticular activator detects that Tiger Woods is on the television, it notices that on a conscious level because Tiger Woods is familiar. He's an activator. Then your brain immediately asks, hey, what the crap is Tiger Woods doing driving that goofy looking car? Is there anything that's relevant or important to me? Or in other words, what your brain is looking for is a hot button. But typically what happens is your brain determines that the Buick Rendezvous is not relevant, it's not important to you, it doesn't do anything to solve any of your problems, so in other words, it's not a hot button, so your brain reverts immediately back into alpha mode. On the other hand, if a problematic situation that's familiar to your prospect is presented, and if it is relevant or important, if it is a hot button, and if additional clarifying information is present, then your brain automatically becomes engaged. Again, it's automatic. Let's be very clear here for a minute. An activator is something that snaps a person from alpha to beta, and it's based on something that's familiar, unusual, or problematic. But an activator can only also be classified as a hot button if, and only if, it's based on something that's important or relevant to somebody. I just mentioned that Madison Avenue likes to use activators based on things that are familiar and unusual. My advice to you is to focus on things that are problematic to your target market and use those as your activators. Let me give you an example. Let's say you own a chain of camera stores and you're trying to promote digital cameras in your advertising. Let's say it's a print ad that's to appear in the newspaper. What would you do? What would you say in the ad? Well, you could find a picture of a monkey or a snake or a wildebeest or something holding a camera. There would be some interrupt value there based on either the familiarity or the unusual nature of the animal you happen to choose. The animal would be the activator. Or you could hire a celebrity to hold a camera or a scantily clad woman. All of these techniques might work to varying degrees, but they don't address the main issue when it comes to digital cameras. See, if you use an activator that's not based on a problem, chances are you'll create what's called a false beta and the prospect won't become engaged. Now we're going to discuss false betas here in just a minute, but for digital cameras, what are the main problems that the typical prospect has? What are the main issues? Well, how about this for starters? The vast majority of people who are going to buy a digital camera don't have the foggiest clue about digital cameras. They know practically zero about megapixels, zoom lenses, flash memory, and all that technical mumbo-jumbo. Yeah, I know that maybe you know about all that stuff, but trust me, most people don't. Here's a tip. Always cater your marketing message to the most people category, not the exclusive few category. Typically, you're going to see menu board style advertising for products like digital cameras. They'll show you a bunch of different pictures of different cameras, different models, and each picture will have a little bullet list of all these features of that model, how many megapixels, what kind of lens, and all that stuff, along with, that's right, the price. The pictures of the cameras will work as an activator all by themselves for people with an interest in digital cameras, but when the brain automatically and subconsciously scans for more information, it finds stuff that might as well be written in a foreign language. So to properly address the main issue, the issue that's important and relevant, or in other words, the hot button, which in this case is uncertainty, most people don't have the foggiest clue about what to buy. How about a headline that might read something like this? If you're thinking about buying a digital camera but haven't got the foggiest clue what to look for or how to compare, then call for our free camera buyer's guide and learn everything you need to know about megapixels, zoom lenses, and flash memory. Maybe a subheadline that says something like, learn the 7 most important features of any digital camera to make sure you only pay for what you need. See how that headline has an activator based on the hot button of uncertainty and unfamiliarity? I know for a fact that that headline would work, and it would reap an increase over the usual menu board style ad by anywhere from 2 to 100 times. Admit it. If you've even thought about buying a digital camera, don't you wish you could get your hand on the camera buyer's guide I just described? Your best bet to successfully interrupt and engage your target market is to identify what problems, frustrations, and annoyances your prospects have and then address them in your marketing. Find out where their pain is. Identify that pain. Describe situations and scenarios that exemplify that pain. Put that stuff in your marketing in the form of headlines and subheadlines, and then let the prospect's reticular activator take over from there. The results are inevitable. Their pain, for all practical purposes, are the hot buttons. See, what we're doing is tapping into problems that they already have. We're not trying to manufacture them. We're merely poking those problems or pointing out those problems so that the reticular activator notices and brings them up on the active radar screen. This is in essence a reticular activator double whammy because you're hitting their problematic button at the same time that you're hitting their familiar button. After all, everybody's familiar with whatever it is that's painful and problematic to them, right? Let me repeat that one more time so that it really sinks in. When you key in on problems, you're hitting the problematic button at the same time that you're hitting their familiar button, which is a reticular activator double whammy because everyone's familiar with their problems. So now here's the key point in all of this, and the one that none of the ad agencies understand and that you need to know in order to make this all work for you. The activators that are used to interrupt the prospect must be based on a relevant hot button. If it's not relevant and if it's not based on hot buttons, the activator either won't work in the first place or the prospect will quickly revert from beta mode back into alpha mode. This is what I touched on a minute ago. I called it a false beta. Let me give you an example of a false beta that everybody can identify with. Have you ever been at the airport in the baggage claim area and you're minding your own business, waiting for your luggage to come off the conveyor? Maybe there's 200 or 300 people in the area, and with all those people and the sound of the conveyor and the suitcases, it's pretty darn loud. Then suddenly from behind you, you hear an unfamiliar voice call out your name above the noise of the crowd. Let's say that your name is Bob. Hey, Bob! What's your response? Do you turn around and look? Of course you do. You couldn't not respond even if you wanted to. The reason why should be obvious after listening to the last several minutes. Your name is an activator. It's probably just about the most familiar thing to you, and because that's true, as soon as you hear your name, Bob, it instantly pulls you out of alpha mode and puts you into beta mode. Then your brain immediately starts searching for additional clarifying information. You start to wonder, who is it? Can you identify the voice? What do they want? How urgent did the voice sound? Now, what happens if you turn around and discover that they're actually calling out to someone else with the same name? Has this ever happened to you? Hey, Bob, and then you turn around and see that the person is talking to somebody else. Do you still walk over there and try to engage that person in a conversation? Yeah, my name is Bob. What do you want? The guy says, what are you talking about? Well, you said, hey, Bob, and my name's Bob, so what do you want? That's a good way to get punched in the nose. It's ridiculous and it's absurd, but this is called a false beta. It's when you're interrupted, but you're not engaged because the activator is not based on something that's important to you, a hot button. And this is exactly what happens in most marketing and advertising. The marketing interrupts, but it doesn't engage, just like Tiger Woods and Buick. He's famous and you like golf, so it captures your attention. It interrupts you, but when you find out that it's not based on anything that's important to you, that there's nothing there that's relevant, there's nothing there that solves some problem that you have, you quickly revert to alpha mode. Why do you think these major advertisers have to keep changing their ad campaigns all the time? It's because over time, the activators lose their ability to snap you out of alpha mode and into beta mode. After a while, Tiger Woods enters your reticular activator, pokes your brain, and your brain says, oh, it's that stupid car commercial again. Don't waste your time. And nothing happens. But when you use hot button-based activators, that won't happen. Legendary advertising great Rosser Reeves said it very succinctly. He said, unless a product becomes outmoded, a great campaign will not wear itself out. Let me repeat that. Unless a product becomes outmoded, a great campaign will not wear itself out. A great campaign has to be based on the marketing equation and have the right hot buttons for that to happen. This is one of the things that almost nobody understands, and one of the main reasons everything you've ever learned about marketing is wrong. You've been conditioned to believe that as long as you've interrupted the prospect, that's it. That's good enough. The job is done. But again, realize if you've only interrupted, that's only 1/4 of the marketing equation. And here's the bad news. The marketing equation is just about an all or nothing game. If you get 1/4 of the marketing equation right and you've got 3/4 of it wrong or incomplete, you're still going to lose. You've got to get all 4 components done properly. Interrupt, engage, educate, and offer to get the maximum results that are available waiting to be garnered. When it comes to actually writing the marketing, we typically like to portray the hot buttons in the form of headlines. And I want to touch on this topic of headlines briefly right now, and I'll cover it in more detail a little bit later. It's hugely important to this discussion of effective marketing because the headline is the first opportunity you have to interrupt and therefore communicate with the prospect. You've got about 1/2 of a split second to interrupt the prospect, so you'd better make sure that the headline has activators in it and that the activators are based on things that are important and relevant, hot buttons, or in other words, words and phrases that describe familiar problems that the prospect is feeling so that the reticular activator will latch onto them and snap them into beta mode. In print advertising, magazines, newspapers, yellow pages, and so forth, the form of the headline is obvious. In radio and television, it's the first sentence spoken. In brochures and marketing collateral, it's the first thing they see. Think about it. What would you be more likely to read? A brochure from a mutual fund company that was titled Landmark Mutual Funds, or one from the same company that said Mutual Fund Investment Strategies, which ones actually work, and which ones are guaranteed to drain your savings, jeopardize your retirement, and squash your quest for financial independence. Does Landmark Mutual Funds contain any hot buttons? Does it get you from alpha to beta? No, it leaves your eyes glazed over. That's exactly what it does. That brochure title is institutional marketing and is a product of the era of the brand builders. What about a slogan of some sort on the brochure instead? Building your future on solid ground. You should know by now that that's a major platitude, stated as if it were original and significant. Who else can say that? Does it pass the X out write-in test? But it's the most likely kind of stuff that you'll find on just about every brochure ever created in history. Probably on your brochure. If your brochure has a similar title, you'll need to change it. What about the other title for a brochure, the one about draining, jeopardizing, and squashing? Any hot buttons there? Does it identify any problems or frustrations and imply a solution? You bet it does. You say, well, that's not very professional. I wouldn't do my brochure that way. Hey, you can do whatever you want with your money in your brochure. I don't really give a rip. I'm just telling you, you'll be the most professional broke guy with his pride intact and his bank account emptied. It's up to you. You can see these brochures for yourself on page 16 and 17 of the audio companion volume.